Hello! Welcome to my Spookathon wrap-up. Today I'm just going to discuss with you the 4 books I read during Spookathon, give them my rating, and just what I thought about them. So, the first book I finished, I read 2 books on the same day, and I kind of finished them around the same time, but I'll start with The Witch Elm by Tana French. I gave this book a 1 out of 5. I described it as boring and underwhelming. I didn't really like anything about the book. It kind of sucks that I feel like it was kind of a waste of time and I didn't get anything from it. This book is set in Ireland, in Dublin, and on an estate outside of Dublin. That we have the main character who gets, I don't think this is spoiling anything because he gets beaten nearly to death and he kind of doesn't have a good memory, and then he goes to his uncle's estate to take care of him, and a skeleton shows up in their estate, and it's like, where does the skeleton come from? Who did it? Just kind of a murder mystery. Doesn't sound that bad, but I thought it was pretty bad. The second book I finished was My Lovely Wife in the Psych Ward by Mark Lukács, which I gave 5 out of 5. I adored that book. It's a non-fiction. It's a memoir about the author, Mark Lukács. He's a teacher and a father and a husband. He talks about his wife's journey in and out of the psych ward. It starts when they meet at 19 and it goes basically up until his life writing the book until it was published. So it's really great. It's eye-opening, it's sad, and I don't know. I love reading nonfiction. I love reading about people's lives, and this was a really great story. The third book I absolutely loved was Emma in the Night by Wendy Walker. It was so good. I read it in 2 days. I couldn't put it down. From the first chapter, I was hooked. Every chapter ends with a cliffhanger. It was just amazing. Emma in the Night is about a girl disappeared 3 years ago with her sister, comes back alone, and the police are trying to find her sister and figure out what happened to the girls. Where were they? Where is the sister? And a bunch of family secrets are dug up, and it's really, really great. The fourth and last book I read for Spookathon was Stalking Jack the Ripper, which, I was very disappointed by. That book also got a 1 out of 5 for me. It's a YA thriller set in the 1800s, and this book could have been really good. Like, it didn't need the romance. But I guess it's YA, and YAs like always have a romance. But at least, like, even if this book had a romance, it didn't have to be front and center. It could have just been like kind of a side story. Like, we have this girl back in the 1800s who is interested in forensic science, and she wants to, help solve who the murderer is of all these women, and it had such great potential, and then I think it really fell flat for me because the romance was so up front and center and such a big focus, which I don't think that book needed. And then just the author trying to throw in these, like, feminist messages, which I'm not saying, like, it's bad to have feminist themes in your books, but I mean, just have a bit more tact with it. I don't know. It was really just like, I don't need to think because my husband isn't thinking for me. It's like, okay, I understand that it was a different time back then, and maybe some women felt like they needed to rely on their husband more and on men more, but just because it was like the 1800s doesn't mean women were stupid. Like, women have always been women. We've always been smart. We can always think for ourselves and do things for ourselves, and we have been independent in some ways. And it's just, it really, really bothered me how this author depicted a typical woman back in the 1800s, and then her main character was so, like, rebellious, and I don't need a man, and I can be beautiful and be a scientist. It's like, whoever said you couldn't? And, like, really, back in the 1800s, did people really, like, think like that? I don't know. I just thought it was really unrealistic and kind of an insult to women of that time and to women of this time, for a matter of fact. But yeah, and I didn't go over the challenges I completed. So I did complete challenge number 1, which was read a thriller, which kind of like all the books except My Lovely Wife in the Psych Ward. They were all kind of thrillers, like mystery thrillers. Number 2 was read a book with purple on the cover, which was My Lovely Wife in the Psych Ward. 3 was read a book with a spooky word in the title, which was The Witch Elm and I guess Night, Emma and the Night, that's a spooky word. And Jack the Ripper is obviously spooky. And then the 4th one was read a book from a different time period. So I read Stalking Jack the Ripper, which was set in the 1800s. And yeah, I didn't do the 5th challenge, which was read a book with pictures in it, but that's okay. I think I did really well reading 4 books in a week. It went from one extreme to the other. 2 1 stars out of 5 and 2 5 stars out of 5. So it was a pretty good week overall. I don't know when I'll do another readathon. This was my first one and I loved it. I'll definitely do one again. We'll just have to wait and see what comes up for me. And that's my video. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye!